Here we go. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for checking it out. And welcome back. Our guest is an off-Broadway poet. He's from the Boogie Down BX. Give him a big round of applause at home and in the studio too. Yeah. And whose name has become well known in the city of New York, the poetry circuit. He's all over the place. And he joins us to shine a light on his passion for poetry and to speak about how he is using his talents to advocate for the holistic health and wellness in our black community. Please welcome to the show, King Kamayera. Yeah.
It's a
The
pleasure
King
being
is
here,
in the
man.
house.
Thank you.
So listen, how did you get started? How did you know that you wanted to advocate for people in our community? But before that, you said, you know what? Let's get our health. Let me put the mask like you're in the plane and the stewardess says, all right, if anything happens, if there's an emergency, the thing is going to fall. Put it on yourself first before you can help others. How did you think that you needed to get involved in helping our community?
Well, one, I think just because of the things I've seen growing up, I think a lot of the time just the people I've grown around, the peers and things like that nature, mental health was never a conversation that was happening, right? It was more so masking it through either sports or, joining the gang, violence, or just bottling it up and then building resentment towards, whatever emotions you feel towards a certain person. So I feel like me, with poetry, is just an avenue for me so I can advocate for the people that go through that. And, and I'm a person that just went through those struggles themselves. So I believe, my message is to, make sure it's easier for the next generation, right? I think now, Generation X and, millennials, we have this duty, I feel, to unlearn certain behaviors that we have been cemented in us, from either households or what we've seen. I think it's just very imperative for someone who has a talent or voice to make sure they're impacting it with a change.
Yeah, you can read that upside down, right? What were your struggles like? Explain that.
Yeah, very shy kid growing up. I didn't, I always felt my feelings were always put last, right?
You were trying to find yourself.
Yeah,
You was inside, you were an introvert.
Right, very introverted, people pleaser, wanted to make sure everyone around me was okay. I'll put myself last, my feelings didn't matter at all. And that bled into a lot of the relationships I had, whether it was platonic or intimate relationships. And I saw a lot of the, having conversations with my therapist, I saw a lot of the things that were going against myself, or just like betraying myself. And I knew I wanted to change that, right? I think from 16, 17, 18 years old, you notice these things about yourself, but you don't really, point into anything or even like diagnose yourself, right? I remember like when I was young, my hands used to always get sweaty and clammy when I meet new people, and I didn't know that was anxiety at the time, right? So I think at this time, growing in my 20s, or like my late 20s now, I believe,
old man now?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Gray hair's coming in and everything.
Get out of here.
But I think it's important to just let people know that, all those things don't make you any different. It just makes you human, right? We all have our struggles and things of that nature. So, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's all stressful growing up and you're wondering, what's my purpose in life?
Right,
Why am I here?
Exactly.
You look in the mirror and say, who is this person?
Right, exactly.
Why am I sharing in the space and time with people?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
then you start putting two and two together and things start building upon what your beliefs are, what you need to build your family, your community, your country, and all those things. You start looking at all those things. And now you're not as nervous about it as you used to be, right?
I mean, I was nervous coming up to this interview, right? But no, not at all. I have a voice, I have a purpose, and I have people who have told me, hey, that poem or, you saying that in between your poem has changed my life or impacted me, you know what I'm saying? And that means a lot. And, again, like I have this talent, but this talent is just an avenue for me to, advocate for the things that I care about.
You're moving the needles.
I'm trying my best, you know what I'm saying?
So are you going to kick a piece of poetry for us later on? Maybe?
Oh, man, I got you.
You got
a
it?
little something, I got you, yeah.
So some of the places that you performed at, talk about it.
Yes. So I started off my career at Poetry Me Please. That was my first show at Bombay Theater out in Queens. Shout out to Rush the Mic.
There you go.
That was in front of 100 people. I stumbled on a piece or two,
but
then, but ever since that, show, I was able to go to the New York Poets Cafe. I won about like seven or eight slams over there, Bowery Poetry. I even, explored outside of New York City. I've been to Philadelphia, Charm City Slam down in Baltimore, Maryland, right about now stage in Houston, Texas. So, I've been
like you smooth things out a little bit. Because when you stumble, it's a step. It helps.
Right, it's a step. Yeah.
It helps because it stays with you for like a couple of days, maybe a week or two. So, I could have done this better you know, I'm
Yeah.
gonna fix this.
Yeah,
because I should've did this and that.
it's like a baby trying to walk, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
baby's gonna fall down a couple times, but they
Yeah.
eventually gonna get the steps, right? And I think
Exactly.
with poetry myself, like, you know, the mistakes I've made is just kind of like a stepping stone to the
Yeah.
success I want to get to, or my next mountaintop I want to get to. So
Now you can
yeah.
walk with confidence. You can bop a little
right,
bit.
you know,
You got
yeah.
swag.
Right. got the jean jacket,
There
you know,
you
we
go.
twinning this stuff like that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So
That's good.
it took a long time. It's not
Yeah.
an easy process. It took a long time for me to get here, and I still feel like I have some healing and some things I have to get through. But
Always.
yeah,
It
you know,
doesn't stop.
It doesn't.
There's always
it doesn't.
some things that you
Right.
need to correct, some things
Right,
that
right,
you
right.
want to touch on, and
Exactly.
that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
But you are advocating for mental health in our black community.
Right. Which I think, again, growing up, there was a lot of stigma around mental health, and even like coming from an immigrant household, right? I was
Yeah.
born and raised in the South Bronx. My parents did come from Mali. You know, therapy and stuff like that wasn't talked about,
No,
right? Even
not at
sometimes
all.
having conversations like, hey, you should, try to check out therapy, because I feel like my parents and my just families, aunties, uncles went through a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, just like what happens at home stays at home, or like you just bottle it in, and
Yeah,
then, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
And that
But-
stigma is strong. But
Right,
what's
right.
happening is that you're holding that in.
Right,
And
exactly.
that affects you even more. So you
Exactly.
need somebody to talk to you. You need
Yeah.
to get it out.
Yeah, and then sometimes I feel like too, growing up as a kid as well, like you have a lot of stuff around you, like that cultivates your identity. So like back when I was back in middle school, right? Hip hop culture was kind of like, nah, you got to be tough, be a man. There was never like hip hop artists being as vulnerable or
Yeah.
as open, So then when you hear these things, either from entertainment or seeing in your livelihood or even in your household where there's not clearly that safe space for you, right? It's like you have to find a way to kind of like grow out of that, unlearn those behaviors. A quote that I live by, right, is like, you cultivate your identity, all these things from like 18 years old. By the time you turn to like your mid-20s, you have to do a job of unlearning a lot of behaviors that
Yeah.
have been cemented in you. So, and the only way we can do that is create spaces for
Yeah.
that to happen.
Do you help yourself out by writing about some of the things that bother you, like some of your fears? Some people
Yeah, stray
tackle
away
their
from that.
fears
Yeah.
by putting it out there. I'm fearful of this. Let me do it.
Right.
You know? And,
Yeah.
and that's one of the ways how you can you can get over it. But do you write your poetry based upon that?
Yeah. So my poetry is based on, like you said earlier, like, the holistic mindset, the mind, body, soul of the black community.
Yeah.
Not only the activism part, but the vulnerable parts that, we're afraid to speak about. Again, right, I look up to a lot of artists that themselves, like they have that element in their art form where like
Yeah.
being vulnerable or telling their own story is something that is not, it's something they're not afraid to, express.
Yeah.
So for me, I've learned to use writing as an outlet to, make that, that's my safe space. Before I go out into the world, that is my safe space. And when I bring that into the world, it just translates in different art elements.
Do you speak about healthy eating, healthy living, and all those things?
I'm eating my greens, I'm drinking my water,
There you go.
But I think that's also another conversation in our
Right.
community that needs to happen more, right? About diet and, things
Yeah.
that you consume, not only from the outside world, but what you put into your body. So,
Yeah.
my next book might be about that. Who knows,
Maybe about that.
Right.
You're speaking about the
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
That's it right there?
Yes.
Talk about it.
My first book, Love Chronicles, Volume 1.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people in the poetry space,
There it is, look.
Right.
Ah.
There we go. Yeah, a lot of people in the poetry space, I built a reputation talking about, activism, right? And,
Yeah.
saying persona poems and, kind of just be loud and brash about the stuff that I go through. But also, so for this, I wanted to challenge myself and bring it back to the roots, right? This is a poem not about just only love from a relationship standpoint, but self-love, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the times, like I said earlier in this interview, I dealt with a lot of neglecting myself.
Yeah.
And I speak about that in this book as well. And, it's just more so I want a reader, when a reader reads this book, I want them to see like, okay, like the evolution towards self-love is never going to be a linear process. You're going to go through your ups and downs. You're going to have your peaks and
Absolutely,
values,
yeah.
So it's more, I think the most imperative thing for me in this book that I want someone to take from it is like, I also go through this stuff as well. Like
Yeah.
it's a normal thing. And I think we should embrace that more rather than hide from it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's normal. You're going to
Yeah.
do those ups and downs.
Right.
The weather's not the same every day.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it was 80 degrees like last week. Now it's 55 degrees, and the next month we don't know. Yeah, so
And we change like the
it
weather.
fluctuates. It fluctuates. Yep.
So you want to kick something for us?
Oh man, I'll kick a little something. Yeah.
Spit 16.
Let's
No,
spit
you're
16. Oh man, okay. This is just a short, mental health piece that I got.
Yeah.
It's called Mental. It's actually going to be on my upcoming album
Uh-oh.
titled Blackberry
Watch
Molasses.
out.
Right,
You heard
right.
it. You heard it first right here. What's the name of the album?
Blackberry Molasses.
Oh,
yeah, spoken word
check
album. Yes,
check
yes,
it out,
yes,
check it
yes.
out.
Coming out and beginning of 2025, hopefully. But yeah, I tend to listen to my inner voice more than the outside world. Tone deaf to my success, but all ears to my distress. All this anxiety has a brother's thrust. My ego is telling me 1,000 ways on how to think of myself less. My problems cost a fortune and my therapist got me in debt like goddamn. They tell me to get better help, but my past so dirty, even Mr. Clean couldn't wipe this mess. You tell me what's worse than living a life full of regret. Yeah, and then, that's all I got right now. Yeah,
Love
you know
it.
what I'm
I'm
saying?
loving
yeah,
it,
yeah,
man. Where are you performing next?
So
we gotta
next,
get out
yeah,
there and
yeah.
check you out.
So I have, I'm actually a part of a collective called the Dope Poets, and we have a show coming up November 22nd. It's going to be in Brooklyn. It's going to be a Black Men Right Showcase. So again, it's about displaying vulnerability and, just a bunch of Black men who are talented writers. These people are not only my friends, but I'm fans of them myself. And it'll be a beautiful showcase, a beautiful night. We'll be also having like bi-monthly events. So November we'll have an event, and then February, and then April when it go also. So and also I'm also planning on curating my own poetry, I guess, platform called the Poetic Oasis, where I have not only poetry showcase, but also formulating workshops where we have conversations diving into mental health and things of that nature. So yeah. So it's a lot coming out.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Website.
Website is to come. It's going to be called KingKamayera.com. And also, you can follow me on Instagram, though. Instagram right now is kind of where I have all my information on my link tree. It's at, king.kamayera. Once again, that's king.kamayera, king.kamayera. And you can find all information for upcoming events, shows, and things of that nature. Yep.
Oh, he's got it going on. The king is in the house. King Kamayera, all right? Poet and advocate for mental health. We appreciate you, man. We'll take a break. I've got more coming up next. It's open.